Welcome into the 86th episode of the Sabremetrix podcast. My name is Bill. Alongside me, as always, is Walt. Walt, how you doing today, man?
Oh, doing pretty good. Looking forward to, recording our first podcast episode in both of our new locations.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I moved into a house. Walt moved into a different apartment, so this is going to be the background, at least for right now. We're still working on some things there, but yeah, I'm excited. Got my good little setup not only for this, but when we're going to be streaming, watching games live. Then even if we aren't on, got a nice little TV over there to watch Sabres on. So I'm ready for the season on August 19th when we are chatting about them. So, well, let's get into some of the news that we kind of passed by a little bit because of all the moving and other stuff that we had going on. KeyBank Center sticking around till 2036. Now, this has nothing to do with the news that came earlier in the year about the county kind of getting away from being part of the KeyBank Center, but KeyBank re-upped their naming rights until 2036, we believe. We're kind of doing this flying by the seat of our pants tonight. But what were your thoughts just on that entire thing? I know it was a little bit ago, but then you talked about the drone show as well. And I just wanted to get your opinion on the presentation and everything that came of it.
Yeah, well, I do think there's some positives that come out of it with it seemed like they were generally excited, and it doesn't seem like the lease extension will be an issue. So it seems like
Yeah,
the Sabres will at least, be playing in Buffalo for the next 10 years. Like that event didn't confirm it, but I don't think they'd hold something like that if that wasn't the
exactly.
plan.
Yeah.
And yeah, the event as a whole, I feel like it's definitely on like that drought iceberg that the Sabre report posted earlier this month, of where it's just like something we'll look back upon in this drought and be like, remember when they opened up a random door during a press conference that just said like arena rights extended till 2036, and remember when they posted like a drone show with like the KeyBank logo going through in a very weird matter through like a Sabres logo or something. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of a goofy event. I mean, there's some positives that come out of it, but yeah, just like overall, I think it's just great drought lore and, just kind of a funny event. It doesn't really impact on ice things, but it was entertaining nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the business side of things, which, doesn't directly affect the team and the on ice product that we like to talk about. But I know there's a lot of memes that came out of it. Honestly, during the past month while we were off, I've also kind of been off social media for the most part too. So I didn't see everything that was going on and some of the funny stuff that was coming up. But for me, I kind of looked at it as a positive. One, obviously, it means like the team, you're not going to be signing that if there's going to be issues in, I think, October or something like that when we were talking about the lease and everything like that. Two, it's good. KeyBank is kind of has a big part of Western New York, and it's good that they put that kind of commitment. That's a good commitment from them. And three, I'll be honest, I didn't really rip on the Sabres from what I saw because I'll be honest, that's probably all what KeyBank wanted to do if I had to guess. I'm sure
Yeah.
the Sabres had some input, but they're, these guys are
KeyBank
cutting a
funded
massive
drone
check.
show.
Yeah, so, like, they're gonna be like, "Fine, whatever." Like, we might stop you if we think it's going to be something, detrimental or, like, super cringy, but I don't like, at the same time, I think they were in the mindset of, "Yeah, we're cool with that." Like, you guys are cutting a massive check and giving this commitment, least we can do is kinda do stuff the way you want, so whatever. It's not that big of a deal. Again, we're more of the on ice product kind of people, except when it comes to arena signs. We'll get to that at some point.
Oh yeah.
But not right now because we actually want to talk about some positive news. Um, we have Tage and Tuck going to the camp in Michigan where 44 U.S. players were invited as a just kind of like a preliminary camp for the Olympics coming up, and wanted to get your opinion on those two. Is there anyone else besides those two for any other country that are associated with the Sabres? Obviously, Dahlin will be one of them, but other guys maybe to look out for the Olympics as well. But specifically, not only that, but specifically about Tuck and Tage and maybe the U.S. roster as well. So that specifically when it comes to the U.S. and Tage and Tuck, but overarching, who else could be making some rosters?
Yeah, I think Tate should definitely have a good chance of making that U.S. roster. I think that World Championships with him getting the golden goal in that one should definitely help his case. And he was even a call up with those injuries to that U.S. team. Didn't get in a game, but he was in the press box for that U.S. Canada final. So I do think he's someone who's on the fringe, and with a great start to next season, I think he could easily push his way into the roster. I think Alex Tuck, I think he may have a little bit more stuff he has to fight through in terms of finding his way onto this roster than someone like Tage. I do think like the bottom of that US lineup, I thought that was kind of a disaster at the Four
Yeah,
Nations. Like we kind of saw
agreed.
when Matthew Tkachuk was injured in that final and you had to play like your Brock Nelsons and whatnot more. So, you know what? Maybe if they want to get guys to play that role, but not the same crew, maybe Tuck could be a guy that could fill in that fourth line type of grinder role because he's got a little bit more skill than the guys they chose last time. So I think, maybe there's a possibility there, but yeah, I think Tage is definitely, I think he's definitely the guy who has the best chance to crack that US roster out of the two. And then, yeah, overall, I was kind of looking at things earlier this summer, especially after the Paterka trade. And it's like, yeah, they really won't have too much excitement going on Sabres wise at the Olympics if Tage doesn't crack the US roster. Like, obviously, they'll have Dahlin on Sweden, but Paterka would have had a massive role on a really fun Germany team. But
Yep.
obviously, he's no longer a Sabre. Finland, I don't think Luukkonen's going to be their starter. I don't
Nah,
even think he'll even get a game. So,
probably not.
yeah, just running through names in my head, and yeah, they have like a decent amount of like Americans and Canadians on their roster, and
Yeah,
obviously
that's. I mean,
outside of Tate and
Canadians.
Tuck, no invites, and yeah, no Canadian invites. So
I mean, like you, I don't know, maybe if you came from another country like an Owen Power or something like that, you're steady, big defenseman.
yeah,
I could see that or something, but comes from Canada. They have the pick of
yeah,
the litter. So yeah, when it comes to the Tage, I don't know. It would be really weird that he scores the golden goal, longest time ever since they won the world championships. And oh wow, barring he literally doesn't show up this season or he's injured. I can't see him not making the roster. I would hope that they learn their lesson in that sense. Look, they made it to the gold medal game and stuff like that, but I still think Tage deserves a spot there. And like you said, that fourth line role, I think over a lot of other players that you can slot in there, maybe there are some, but I think Alex Tuck might be the best when it comes to look, we're looking for guys that can actually play on a fourth line, not like a skilled
yeah.
guy that just didn't make the top six or the top nine. And we're like, all right, well, get him on the roster, get him out there. We've seen how well he forechecks. I mean, the turnovers in general with more skilled players on the ice with him to be able to maybe convert those chances, at least it's something to look at for the United States. So I wouldn't rule out Alex Tuck. Homer pick because I'm a huge Alex Tuck fan. I think there's a lot of guys that are Alex Tuck fans. I just, like you said, it's probably going to be an uphill battle for him, but I could see him squeaking in. I would give him a better chance than probably most everyone else, but that's just because I think the role on the fourth line would be close to perfect that you can get there. Like you said, Chris Kreider, Vinny Trocheck, Brock Nelson. You're like, okay, yeah, I guess so. Maybe they're not bad players by any means, but are they that much better than Alex Tuck? Oh, I'll ask you that. Are they that much better than Alex Tuck? I don't think so.
I'd probably take Tuck over all three of those. I mean, I know Brock Nelson's a center, but I think
Yeah,
Tuck's a
they're all
really
they're
talented
centers.
player.
Yeah,
But I think the other problem too is, we're looking at like the Sabres lineup for this upcoming season, and for Tuck to have great offensive production, he doesn't really have us like a perfect fit role in the lineup like he did when Jeff Skinner was here, where you just roll out Skinner, Tage, and Tuck, and Tuck's going to be close to a point per game. Like we're looking at a lineup where we've also seen Tage play on the right wing, so it's forced Tuck on a different line. So unless they move Tage to the left wing, they'll probably be on separate lines. And then, looking at that Sabres center depth, they don't exactly have guys that put up an insane amount of points, at least assist wise, in those positions to help out their line mates. So
it's just
I think that factor might not help them too much.
I think it might have been last week. Excuse me. I think it might have been something like last week or the week before, but I kind of went back and there's just the distribution from the centers that they have going into this season. It's just like, I mean, even Tage, like he's not a pass first playmaker. Does it matter how the puck goes in the net? No, and when he's on the ice, the puck goes in the net, that's for sure. But just those distributors, like I don't know, that's just really something I wish they brought in this summer. But there's nothing, it doesn't really seem like there's anything that they're going to do about that now. So the team is what it is. So let's hope that Yuri Kulik finds his playmaking abilities and he really tears it up as their second line center. I guess we'll see. I'm really interested to see the lines that are getting rolled out not only in training camp but in some preseason games, and especially when the roster starts to get dwindled down. But I'm not going to get there yet. Next week we're actually going to have a little bit more fun. We're just trying to make this a quick episode, say hi, howdy, hello to everyone, and kind of knock off the cobwebs on our end. But next week, I think we might start dabbling into maybe some projected lineups or just more in-depth things going into next season. This one is just kind of a basic overview of some of the topics that have been flying around. It's actually funny. I think I've seen a couple other podcasts release episodes this week too. So everyone's kind of doing their check-in. Just so happens we were doing it on this Tuesday evening, like I said, the 18th of August. The next topic specific to Tuck, and then we have one more after that. But one, are you worried that he hasn't signed an extension yet? And if not, when will you be worried that it hits this date and he still hasn't signed? Then you're like, oh crap, what's going on here? I have my 2 cents, but I wanted to ask you that first.
It's kind of something I almost forgot about is that, yeah, Alex Tuck, he's able to sign an extension now. And yeah, heading into this season, still doesn't have one. We're, already coming up to the end of August. I think, for me to be the most comfortable, I think it would have to be signed like before the first regular season game. Like once he's back in September, just iron out the details and sign that deal. I think if he's not signed by, the trade deadline, like just pushing the timeline out even further, I don't I don't think there's any way you don't trade him because if he's really that into being a Saber, like you could do a Matt Molson, you could trade him,
Yeah,
collect a
you
first
could.
round pick and a prospect, and then just re-sign him in the offseason. If he's really a Saber guy, which at the end of the day, I don't know if you can be a Saber guy with how bad this team has been, like throughout Tuck's time here, with like how good he's played, and he really can't play much better with what his skill set is, and this team still
Yeah,
misses a playoff with him just playing incredible hockey. So, even if you're a fan of this team like he claims to be, it's like, what's your desire to stay on a team that can't win as you enter your 30s as an NHL player? Because I feel like a lot of these guys have to realize, especially when they hit their age 30 season, like there's only so many of these left, and to kind of be stuck on a team that can't even get to the playoffs, can't even push for a cup. I can't imagine that would be appealing to a guy like Tuck. So yeah, I say I'd be really concerned if he is unsigned like heading into this season. I think that's when I'd kind of start paying attention to things.
it's not uncommon. I didn't do the legwork to figure this out, but it's not uncommon for them to sign a player like right before training camp or during training camp. I think that's happened a couple of times. Was it Own Power maybe and someone
I think
else?
wasn't Darlene like late summer?
I think yeah, Darlene was later in the summer, I believe. I remember because he was off in like Central Europe or something like that, and everyone was like, "What's going on here?" And we were like, "Well, I guess he's waiting to come back to the United States to put pen to paper or something like that." So that sounds about right. So again, that could be another thing going on with Alex Tuck. I'll be honest, if I'm Alex Tuck, this is your one chance to have teams come to you and say, "Here's what we can offer you," and you kind of have the pick of the litter. If I'm Alex Tuck, I'm waiting to see how this team starts. Like
Yeah,
if I'm
absolutely.
Alex Tuck, I'm pushing it off as late as I can. And yeah, maybe it is something like you said, like a Molson, trade at the deadline and come back. But if I'm him, man, I'm not super eager to sign that. Now, if he's talked with his wife and has consulted with, I don't know, his family beyond his wife and children that they really want to stay here in Buffalo, fair enough. I can see that. But if I'm his agent, I'm like, hey man, don't sign that thing yet. Don't sign that thing yet. You got to hold their feet to the fire a little bit. So on Tuck's perspective, I don't blame him, and frankly, I think that's what I would do if I was in this situation. So yeah, it's disappointing. As a fan, you really want one of your favorite players to be signed. I was I don't really have much else to add besides that. Maybe I kind of share your concern. I would say maybe 25 games in. 25 games in, you have a good sample size. And like we've said before, you can't make the playoffs in the first 25 games, but you can sure as heck lose it. You can make it almost insurmountable that you come back in the season and make the playoffs because we did it last season. Well, now they have to play at an 118 point pace, stuff like that. If it's not by like game 20, 25 sign, that's where I'm really worried too. We're pushing
Yeah.
what, December at that point, mid December. How many games? 25 games in. It's got to be like mid December, right? I don't know. Anyway, that's where I'm really getting worried. He's an integral part not only of the team on the ice but off the ice. And look, I kind of had some choice. I won't say choice words, but choice thoughts when it came to Tuck and Opozo talking about how they got upset that fans were booing them and the whole no saluting thing. But that's just like a tiny little blip that you just kind of move past. It's not that big of a deal, really. This is a good player. You characterized him as Mr. Buffalo, essentially. This is the guy that used to sleep in his Sabres gear kind of crap. You
Tim
got to
Conley
sign him.
fan.
Tim Connolly fan, yeah. You got to sign him. So, I mean, again, it's almost like, I hate to say it, it's almost kind of like the Skinner situation where they're like, we we have to sign this guy. We might have to overpay, but like we need to sign this guy. We said the same thing with Skinner. Now Skinner was out of a contract and Tuck has a contract this season, but does it kind of feel the same way? Or am I just wrong on that?
I think a little bit, yeah, because it definitely feels like I remember with the Skinner situation, it was like if they don't sign this guy, they literally have
They have no
no
one.
prospects that can replace him in the next few years. They have, really no one that would be available to them in trades or free agency that can replace him, especially with how difficult we've seen it is to get guys to actually come to Buffalo. So, yeah, I think you do have to overpay. And I don't really think overpaying for Skinner was the worst thing. I think they really
Yeah.
messed up the buyout portion of that. But like 22, 23, they were 1 point away from the playoffs. They wouldn't have even come close to the playoffs without Jeff Skinner that year. I think he was arguably the best forward on the ice for the Sabres that season at times, especially down the stretch with the clutch goals he scored to keep the season alive.
Good luck saying
So,
that to certain people.
yeah. I mean, he just has a clutch gene in him down the stretch
He
during
does.
those Sabres games. Like, you think that, like, oh, they're going to lose, they're going to be out of it. And then he just battles through three guys, finds a guy in front, scores. Like, he was clutch in his prime in Buffalo. And he's someone who really kept the Sabres kind of alive in 22, 23. And so I think someone like Tuck, even if you have to battle through some rough years where you're paying a forward a lot of money, you're playing meaningless hockey, I think in the end, 5, 6 years from now, I think it would be nice to have someone like him around. I mean, obviously, we still have to see how he ages, but he's not really someone that's dealt with like crazy injuries throughout his career. So,
It's more been like
he should be
shoulder
fun.
and stuff
Yeah.
like that, right? It's not like anything lower.
Like
Maybe there's lower body.
nothing like concussion wise though. Cause I remember with
Yeah.
Skinner, he was someone who had, a few concussions. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I think someone like Tuck, I think you just have to sign him. And yeah, like you said, he's Mr. Buffalo too. I think a lot of people are kind of on the fringe of just like completely forgetting the Sabres exist. I think those people would be beyond disappointed if they move someone like Tuck because he's a lot of people's favorite player. And, he kind of plays the game the way the Florida Panthers have been playing to win the Stanley Cup. Like, he'd be a very hot commodity on the open market if he chooses to go there. And if the Sabres
On that
eventually make it
contract?
to the playoffs
Woo.
someday, yeah, on that contract too. And that's kind of the other thing. I mean, maybe we could bring that up is that if they really weren't sure that he'd be able to sign here, they could have gotten like a premium piece from him if they traded him even this past season. Like I know there are rumors with LA and then Quentin Byfield's name came up somehow, but that ended up not really being affiliated. But like imagine if
Woo.
Adams was bold enough to like kind of pulled the trigger on a Tuck plus for Byfield before he kind of broke out last season. That could have been pretty fun.
I mean, that's a hard sell for certain people because a lot of people probably don't know who Quentin Byfield is, but they know who Alex
Yeah,
Tuck is. And I've seen it, but I've been told by one person that said if they don't resign Alex Tuck, essentially, if this is his last season, I'm done. After everything, like I'm done.
yeah.
And it's like, whoa. So like and that again, like I said, that's been a shared sentiment a few times that I've seen. So yeah, that would have been, yeah, like you said, a bold move from Kevin Adams if he pulled that one off. Again, I feel like it would have been mostly a negative reaction by people that don't know who Quentin Byfield is. And then there would be the people that are like, this is a proven commodity, a veteran on your team, and you're getting another younger guy that you're really banking on upside for too. So there's that. And I think another thing when it comes to Tuck is even if you're starting to really struggle in his like age 35, age 36 season, this is a guy that is good for the room, that will take a
Yeah.
younger player under his wing. Again, we're not in the locker room, obviously, but he just seems like a good guy. I'll be honest, a lot of the Sabres, most of the Sabres seem like good guys overall. So it's weird that they don't have like a super toxic culture, but they still have all of these struggles and they don't have, kind of the mental fortitude to, close out games or,
I think that's kind of the thing though, is that it's almost a problem they don't have a toxic locker room because I
it's
think when
true.
they did have a toxic locker room with guys like Eichel and Reinhardt just being pissed, like look what those guys did when they left the Sabres. They won Stanley Cups. Like
Yeah.
in order to be the elite of the elite in the
Yeah.
NHL, like the NHL
It's
is just like the best players on the best teams of any team they played on growing up. To be even better than those guys when you make to the NHL level, you have to have that just like innate competitiveness that just elevates you to the next level, like Tiger Woods, like Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Like
like
you just
Tom
have to
Brady, it was
be,
never he
yeah,
was never
Tom Brady too.
you see clips all the time. He's talking about like I didn't have any friends. They were all my enemy. And like that it's the same way for even take hockey, take sports out of it with your work life. The top of the top, they're ruthless and they know what they want and they go for it and they're talented obviously and anything else that you can think of, that rings true there. So I do kind of understand. Look, JT Miller, there's another one. You saw what
Yeah.
was going on there. Like he was holding guys to standards and stuff like that. And some other guys are like, you know what? I just want to play my hockey, collect my paycheck, and rip it in Cabo for a couple weeks after the season and keep it going. Like again,
I
it
think Chris
is.
Jury too. I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
bringing him up, like on the 06, 07, 05, 06 Sabres. Like I've always heard people say Briere is a fun captain and
yep,
Jury was a serious captain. Like
yeah,
he held
yeah.
guys
Guys didn't like
accountable.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, cared about winning.
I mean, I'm not trying to make it sound like these players don't work hard. If you make the NHL, like 99.9% of the time, you are a very, very, very hard worker. You're immensely talented, but you're an incredibly hard worker too. I mean, just the sheer numbers of people that make the
Yeah,
NHL, like there are some of the most ridiculous players that they can barely, you know, make it onto AHL rosters. There's really good hockey players in the East Coast Hockey League too. But I mean, like the cream of the crop, the NHL, like I'm not trying to say that the Sabres don't work hard. I really don't want that to be the impression, but there is a difference between, like you said, that Eichel, Reinhardt, the best of the best mindset. Nathan McKinnon, he's putting his freaking teammates
oh yeah,
on diets and stuff like that. He's like, if you
yeah,
eat a piece of bread, I will come over at 3 a.m. to your house and we're going to be doing who knows what kind of workout or whatever. I'm just making stuff up. But like that kind of stuff, you know, is it good to see that there's not like just like a super toxic relationship in the locker room? Sure. Maybe like what's the phrase? People maybe you need to see a little piss and vinegar. You know what I mean?
no,
Guys
yeah. I mean
getting
that's
upset.
kind of yeah,
I'm looking
that's
for a
kind of
fight
the
in
thing.
training camp, baby. That's what I'm looking
Oh
for.
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Well, no, I mean we did. Yeah, I guess now you brought that up, we did see that last year with like Darlene and Krebs in practice. So I think Darlene, like I think he's one
Darlene
of
has
those
it.
guys where it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, he has that competitive nature, but at the same time, that scares me because all the guys that we've had in Buffalo over the years that have had that competitive nature, yeah, they
See,
all find their way out of here. And I
oh,
think Paterka too. I think he was someone who I don't really think he showed it that much last season, but I think he's someone where if you put a winning team around him, I think he would have played extremely hard. And I think there's just
he would have played better
that's
defense. Yeah,
yeah, it's just like the problem with the drought. It's just when this becomes a norm, you have every guy that cares about winning want out, and the Sabres don't really, they don't really play hardball with any of the guys that want out. It's like, oh, you want out? Oh, let me
except
just trade for
one,
2 depth guys. Yeah,
except
except for
one.
one guy. But I,
We've gone over
yeah,
that a million times.
it's just such a mess at the end of the day where it's like, and at the end of the day too, I think there's guys like Tage, guys like Darlene, where I think if they held this organization's feet to the fire, I think they can make the world so much better for, us too, everyone listening to this podcast, everyone who's a Sabres fan. Like they have so much leverage. Like just go in there and kind of, force your way around. It's like you can't find a guy that wants to come here, then you know, go to your analytics department, try to find like an undercover gem and hope he pans out into a great player. Like it's just like I just don't feel like I feel like they're leaving like stones unturned with every offseason. It doesn't really seem like they're tirelessly trying to improve this team. It just seems like
Yeah,
they're just willing to stay stagnant and, trade the guy that wants out for a few pieces, sign a few veteran guys that'll play bottom line roles and, just head into next season. Like I just think the star players on this team could do so much more in terms of demanding the Sabres do things. I mean, Jack Eichel pretty much convinced the Sabres to sign Taylor Hall, like once we kind of found out what the Jack Eichel asking out timeline was. So
yeah.
there is potential for these star players to force this team to spend money. So I'd love to just see them do that this season. Like I know Darlene did speak with Kevin Adams last season, but I'd like to see him do it even more because I
Yeah.
just think these are the guys that can really make a change with how the Sabres operate.
I think it's another situation where I need to reiterate I'm not necessarily knocking them for this offseason and what they did. This would have been a very good offseason if they were effective in their previous 2 off seasons. Again, since the season that they missed the playoffs by 1. I've said it a million times on this podcast. If you're a return listener, I don't need to repeat it. So it's just that's where the issue is. They could probably point at it and be like, well, we brought in some guys this offseason, Kesselring and Doan and Alex Lyon is great. That's awesome. But what'd you do the other 2 off seasons, especially when you bought out Jeff Skinner and then didn't really use the money? And again, I can make a scenario where you overpay a bunch of bums and you're like, well, we're against the cap when we still suck. Sure. But when everyone says spend the cap, spend it, but spend it wisely, obviously, but spend it. And like we said, maybe if it wasn't the last episode, it was the episode before it, like they're no longer a team that has all of this cap space and they're poor. They're just not they're not a great hockey team and they're about middle of the road when it comes to available cap space. That's not a good combination, unfortunately. So again, I'm very much looking forward to the hockey season. I know it doesn't necessarily sound that way. I really want things to work out for the Sabres. UPL to have a really good season. Jack Quinn to find it again. Tage Thompson tear it up. Tuck re-sign and sign your contract extension. Tear it up. Kesselring fits perfectly with Power. Doan could he if he solidified himself as a top 6 forward? That'd be great. We're going to be along here for all of it, good or bad, but I don't know. As the time goes on, the realization comes in. It's like, oh crap, this is their team. I'm
Yeah.
scared. Like, if you are
Yeah.
super confident that the team's going to make the playoffs, again, I hope it happens, but I'm just not. I maybe give them a 3 in 10 chance if I had to say right now, maybe 2 in
Yeah,
10, something like
that's
that.
kind of the thing. Like you brought up with it's like the off seasons, it's like okay in a vacuum. Like sure they added like plus
Yeah,
players, but it's
yeah.
like
Like I like
you
the
have to
players
make
in a
the
vacuum.
yeah, you have to make the team more better though than just like McLeod, great addition. Adding Ryan McLeod to that Sabres team last year doesn't make them a playoff team. Like adding McLeod to like the Colorado Avalanche, that could have made them like a lot better, maybe won them an extra playoff round or
Oh yeah.
But like adding them to the Sabres, it's like what's the difference between like a 84-point team and like a 78-point team? Like it's all the same. You're still in no man's land.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point too. It's like, yeah, you're not the worst in the league, but you still miss the playoffs by a good chunk. That no man's land is pretty wide, and then it really starts to tighten up at the edge of the playoffs there. So, oh boy, yeah, I'm really looking forward to putting together some of those lineups that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Last topic for the day, and then we're going to get out of here. I appreciate everyone tuning in. As always, if you made it this far, hang with us just a little bit longer. And then next week, I'm going to try to maybe put together some kind of tentative, not schedule, but just once a week. This is what we'll do during the season, stuff like that. There are also, I know I've teased them before, and we haven't come up with a lot of them, but there are going to be individual videos that aren't podcasts or anything like that we will be working on. It's been a little busy. I can only speak for myself when it comes to moving. But if anyone has moved into a house and everything that goes into that, holy crap. Um, Ticket sales. Starting to see a lot of things come up about ticket sales. Obviously teams go from, hey, buy your season tickets here. Then they go, hey, go ahead and buy half season. Okay, quarter season, 10 games. Now we're starting to see some interesting things going on. Now we just wanted to hand the floor over to you when it comes to, what you've seen about the ticket sales, any maybe concerns that are going on there. Is it finally the year that maybe people talk with their feet or their money, I guess you'd say, and don't show up? What have you been seeing? Because there's definitely some emails of them pushing people to already single game tickets, really small packages, stuff like that. So it seems like season tickets might be.
Yeah, it's definitely not looking good. And I know when Pete Gwelly kind of spoke on the amount of season tickets they sold this year, it's definitely, kind of lower than what we've seen the last two seasons. So I really think that home opener, like they even did like a flash sale on tickets where you get tickets as low as $25. Like that's never a good sign for any NHL team. And you know, I flew all the way back from Boston to Buffalo. I mean, I know people probably don't care about whether I'm going to go to the game or not, but I flew back for the last two. I don't plan on doing it this year, so
Okay.
I don't really know if that's a barometer for anything, but I'd imagine a lot of fans probably feel similarly to me, even like the out of town fans that came in for the home opener, because that was always, a really fun game, a game to look forward to. Like after they narrowly missed the playoffs in 2023, that was a pretty hyped up game, the home opener, I believe, against the Rangers. And it's starting to feel like I'm trying to remember what season it was. I think the 21-22 season, that home opener, it was kind of still in COVID a little bit, and they played Montreal. The barn was pretty empty for that game. I actually went to that game and was able to get a seat like a few rows up from the ice for like $75 or something, like extremely cheap. And Sabres beat Montreal somehow, and Montreal made it to the Cup Finals the prior year.
Yeah, I
Kind of all
remember that.
feels like
Yeah.
a fever dream now with COVID, but
Yeah. Wow.
it I I do think like it'll be, kind of a mix between a sellout and that game. Like I think we'll see an attendance land somewhere where you're still like probably like 4,000 plus empty seats. I do want to say though, I think for fans that are Kevin Adams haters, they do announce like the front office and have them like go up behind the bench before the game. So if you're looking for your only chance this season to boo Kevin Adams, this will be the game to go to. $25 is not a bad price to pay if you want to boo Kevin
Yeah.
Adams.
And assistant general manager Jason Carmanos, and like the last person's and GM Kevin Adams. Like that's what
Yeah,
the
I know.
PA guy is going to
That's
sound
the
like.
other thing. Like imagine if you're a player on the Sabres and the home opener, there's like 13,000 people there, and then there's
Your
just a
GM is
thunderous
booed.
boo for your GM. And imagine being like someone like Alex Tuck and being like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna commit 8 years here. This organization's going in the right direction."
I mean, maybe he does say that because he's like, this guy ain't long for here anyway. So
Yeah,
um, there's that. But hey, I mean, if you're not going to be going to the home opener, maybe that's going to be something we live stream and hang out with everyone and react live to. Um,
yeah,
don't make me do that by myself. I did that during the playoffs, and by like hour 3, I was dragging. So that's something to look forward to. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to pretty much everything that we got planned for this upcoming season, regardless of what happens on the ice. Ticket sales, going to be interested to see because it was always interesting. I went to, a handful of games last year and look around like, that's a lot of blue. Tonight is a sellout or like something like way closer. And you're like, bull crap.
Yeah, I
Bull
know.
crap. So I'm also interested to kind of see how that works out too. So I think that's about it when it comes to Sabres topics that we really wanted to dive in. Again, just knocking off the cobwebs, making sure everything worked in our new places, obviously. Appreciate everyone coming by and hanging out with us on this episode. We're going to probably circle back next week, do some stuff there, and go on from there. So, Walt, is there anything else that you wanted to chat about, or is it your final word?
Yeah, I guess my final word will be go Sabres. I guess that's all we can hope for at this point is just cheer the team on and go Sabres.
You know what? I'm sorry. I'm going to take final word. Actually, go KeyBank Center.
Yeah, go KeyBank Center.
Let's go
Proud
KeyBank
partners.
Center. Proud partners, not of the Sabremetrix podcast, but of the Buffalo Sabres. Go KeyBank Center. Appreciate y'all. We'll catch you on the next one.